Hey y'all, this is Kobe R. Rice, and I'm back again for another weekly creative update. Except for this one is the bi-weekly update this time. I never know if that's even like the right word to use. Bi-weekly, dual weekly, bi-monthly. Anyway, this is the update addressing the past 2 weeks that I've sort of been around, but I haven't actually given you guys any major creative updates because I've just been so swamped and crushed and busy with graduate school. I did, however, give you guys a lovely resume and update on Black Panther. So if you are interested in my analysis, spoiler alert, on the amazing Black Panther film from Marvel, then definitely check out episode number 60 and go get your life. Okay. So hi, I'm sorry I've been away. Not that like anybody was crying while I was gone, but that's okay. I forgive you. Basically, so today is what? Monday, March 5th. And thankfully, this is the beginning of an entire week of what I hope to be blissful relaxation because it is finally spring break. So the creative milestone updates that I'm giving you guys today pretty much cover the past 2 weeks from Monday, February 19th, all the way up until yesterday, Sunday, March 4th. And to be honest, and I say this every single podcast, it never gets old, there aren't really so many updates, so I'm hoping that today's podcast is going to be relatively short, especially because I would like to go and take a nap. Because for whatever reason, even on my spring break, there's just lots of stuff to do, and I'm just like trying to like get centered in my self-care. Okay, so what has been happening over the past couple of weeks? Yada yada. I'm looking at my phone, by the way, for my notes, so just like don't mind me if I'm not paying you due attention, those of you who are watching this on the vlog. Basically, like grad school running its feet up and down my ass. One major thing, and I think I told you guys about this on podcast number 59, but my architecture class is great, but it's also like crushing. So I had my exam and my stuff due for that recently. Read some plays that I really did not enjoy reading. You know, when you're studying theater culture throughout history and you are a person of color, you realize very quickly just how erased and marginalized and silenced you are as a person of color. Because in the theater canon, it is very much dominated by European theater culture. And, you know, and theater history. And that's not an inherent problem. I think all theater histories are good to study. But unfortunately, my particular course of study, again, is dominated by European theater history. And it would just be nice if there were like a balance of things, like European theater history, African theater history, Chinese, Japanese, Korean theater history, you know, South American, Latino, Latinx, Chicano, Mexican theater history, indigenous peoples and native peoples theater history, or however you want to define their kind of theater. It would just be nice to have like a really lovely balance of that kind of theater. And because I don't have that balance, I'm learning a lot, and it's important to learn these things, but a lot of the general questions about how important these theories and these histories are to art making in the present, I feel pretty much don't apply to me. And that's not to say that European culture can't teach anything, but it's different from African culture. It's actually even really different from American culture. If you look at American theater culture compared to European theater culture, there was certainly some influence and crossover, but there are many institutions and many conventions of theater that are uniquely American, some of which are not necessarily empowering, especially when you look at you know, traditions like vaudeville, minstrel shows, and burlesque. However, those are still very much, you know, very, very American in feel. And actually, I think, not to be like total jughead, I think that burlesque did have some time in Europe as well. Check my facts on that. But there were certain parts of American theater history that are uniquely Americans. And I would have even appreciated learning mostly about those theater histories But a lot of the theater history that we learn is very European. And again, it's not to say that that history is not important, because it has in many ways really helped to define a lot of the ways in which modern and contemporary theater works. Even though you see some kind of cleaving into post-dramatic theater or whatever. But it would just be nice to see like some diversity, basically is what I'm saying. So anyway, I don't know why I went on that long tangent, but learning some interesting things there, although I would like those things to be more applicable to me. Let's see. So I got theater culture, period styles, architecture. I'm going to lean more towards now, sort of away from graduate school and into teaching a little bit. I definitely had my patience tested the other day because we had our first midterm and the printer shut down. Mind you, this is not a podcast of like me just like complaining about the many things that are wrong with graduate school. Although it can seem that way occasionally, but these are just like the challenges that you go through when you're an artist, just trying to like grab every minute of every day to do what you have to do and make your art. And the world is just like, psych, I'm not going to be helpful to you in that regard at all whatsoever. And that's what was basically happening this past week, which was really horrible. But in general, teaching is actually going quite well as well. And I really, I've been enjoying it. For the first time, I can say that I feel in control of my teaching load to a certain extent, and not that my teaching load is controlling me, which I have not been able to really claim for the past almost 2 years. Wow. Like, guys, FYI, in 7 weeks at the end of my semester, I would have been here for 2 years in my graduate program, and you guys would have been here for like literally most of that journey. I think I started podcasting pretty regularly in like the middle of my my first fall semester here. So that's crazy. You guys have been on my journey with me, and that's pretty insane and great. But yes, so for the first time in 2 years, I feel like I'm enjoying, like deeply enjoying my graduate teaching assistantship, specifically because I'm learning more about film history with a particular reference and emphasis on horror film history, which is even better with this class that I'm TAing because it's an international horror history and film history. So it's just an incredible, I just love it. I really wish I had had the bravery to be a film major when I was an undergraduate. But even then, I don't think that we had any classes like this class that we have here at the University of Arizona that is so eclectic, and my professor is so amazing and has a deep level of knowledge on the film industry as a business, but also the craft of filmmaking, but then also like the theory and the history of filmmaking, not only in the United States, but like worldwide. So I'm literally learning about the history of not only American filmmaking, but also German filmmaking, Italian filmmaking, South Korean filmmaking, blaxploitation in America, and it just goes on and on. We're going to learn about Chinese film history, I believe, in these coming weeks. And it's just incredible. Like, I feel really equipped to like go into the field with like some knowledge. Anyway, so I'm just getting my life with my teaching this semester. I'm not going to lie. And the other half of my graduate education, I'm actually not going to file undergraduate school. I'm just going to like transition over into the section of the podcast that I like to call directing and dramaturgy. Okay, so this is just like how I'm going to roll with that today. Directing and dramaturgy has actually been, it's been really great. I'm not going to front on that, but it has been really challenging in a lot of ways because the directing and dramaturgical skills that I'm gaining in this program, which are great, unfortunately fall under the very oppressive auspices of academia. And academia, no offense to you academics out there, but for me, the learning environment of academia is super oppressive. It's very rigid. It can be very inflexible. The support outside of the academic space of the classroom can sometimes vary or / be non-existent. And so learning how to navigate a director role in both film and theater, as well as a dramaturgy role, within academia can be a huge challenge. But within those challenges, what I have been able to get done in the past 2 weeks is that I did finish the first round of dramaturgical notes with the playwright that I'm working with right now. I'm working on 2 full-length plays, and I'm not going to blow up the playwright or the plays here. When I say blow up, I don't mean insult. I just mean like announce who they are, because playwriting is a very personal, empathetic, very vulnerable process. And as a dramaturg, it's our job to advocate for the playwright and to protect the playwright, as well as to help them grow and help their play grow so that they can produce the best work and the best plays possible. So a part of that is to not publicly discuss any particular specific things with regard to the plays that I'm working on. But just know that I did read this playwright's body of work, and from there I delved into 2 particular full-length plays, one original and one adaptation, that I really have learned a lot by working on these particular works and with this particular playwright. So I think that in this way, I'm gaining a lot of dramaturgical, script editing, script doctoring, skills that I think are going to be really helpful for me personally as a screenwriter and as a film director and theater director. Also as a dramaturg. Although, just FYI guys, the more that I do dramaturgy, the more I realize that I probably don't really want this as a full-time career. I want dramaturgy more as a really amazing, kick-ass tool set to put into my toolbox as a director, as a screenwriter, etc. But do I want to be a dramaturg full-time? Probably not, to be honest with you. Having said that, the other dramaturgical project that I'm working on is that we are putting together this really incredible play festival around the theme of erasure. And when I say play festival, it's really just us taking these particular proposals and pitches from playwrights that we have collected with an open call and developing a 10-minute play. Actually, in our case, we're each working with 3 playwrights developing 3 10-minute plays around the topic of erasure. That could be ethnic erasure, racial erasure, environmental erasure, technological erasure, familial erasure, self-erasure, etc. I mean, the theme of erasure is very far-reaching and eclectic. Gender erasure, historical erasure, so on and so forth. And what I did in these past 2 weeks is that we actually finished basically whittling down the list of playwrights who have the most interesting ideas. Unfortunately, there were many that we wanted to work with whom we couldn't select. And that was unfortunate, but we are really happy with the selection of playwrights that we have, along with the proposals. And we are now each of us responsible for working with 3 playwrights individually. And I actually just finished my 3 conferences with my 3 playwrights, dealing with introducing them to the development program, introducing them to the dramaturgical process, and also just getting to know them and their level of experience as playwrights and as artists. So right now, they are each working on their own 10-minute play based on the proposal that they sent to us. And the entire point of this process is to, as a dramaturg, as a burgeoning dramaturg, be able to help a playwright develop a play from scratch that they have not written yet into a finished product specific for a specific purpose around a specific theme. That theme being erasure, and that purpose being potential production in our 10-minute play festival in the fall, which is going to be super awesome. So just finished that process. So literally I have like 2 full-length plays and 3 10-minute plays in my head right now, 4 different people that I'm working with right now, which, as you can imagine, if you're familiar with the field of dramaturgy, is a lot of plays and people to be juggling all at once. And so it's just helping me to develop skills in very different ways. You know, I have now quite a bit of experience being in this program, developing full-length works with individual playwrights, and now I'm having more experience developing shorter works, but developing those based on commission from scratch. So all of those skills in the moment feel hard to develop and feel very, pressing on the soul and on my energy at times, but it's definitely worth it. I don't regret like being in this class and working with these playwrights. I'm super excited to be developing these skills, and also to be developing these playwrights who, for at least two of them that I'm working with, have never written a play before. And and it's just great. So I'm really excited. It fits basically with my goal as a dramaturg, or my goal as an artist, which is to develop diverse works and also develop voices of color. So the three plays that I'm working with, just to be vague about it, because I don't want to again put these playwrights on blast, deal with people of color, communities of color, gentrification, microaggressions, and then there's one in particular that deals specifically with the erasure of Korean comfort women from Japanese war history, which is great. Like, I'm just super excited to see where these plays go and how I can help develop them. So that's my dramaturgy. As for directing, that has actually been going super well, and I'm really proud of myself. Basically of all the things that I've done this semester, the work that I'm doing on the King Arthur production, I think, kind of stands out in a lot of ways. Not because my ideas are the best ideas, but because I'm just enjoying that work the most. Because I'm doing a storyline on Sir Morian, who is the only Black Knight of the Round Table, and he has a story that's self-contained. It has been challenging to adapt his story, but also a little easier because you guys know me. I'm really hardcore Aristotelian, where my story structure is beginning, middle, end. Set up, Act 2A, Act 2B, Act 3, climax, denouement, rising action, all of that. Maybe I will never be the playwright getting a Tony Award or a Pulitzer or whatever for the most innovative structure, but I like to do innovative things within the structure, and that's what I'm trying to do with Sir Morian. And so the process of just developing this show creatively, but then also handling the business around this show, has been a very interesting education. As you guys know, from my last podcast, not podcast number 60, but number 59, which is entitled "Over My Dead Director's Body, Bruh." You guys know that there was I wouldn't even call it an issue. I would call it a discussion around intellectual property rights, billing, and director's credit. And out of that discussion, at first, my team and I, meaning myself and my colleagues, my three colleagues, were not going to come away from this project with co-director's credit, and now we are. And again, I'm going to give myself most of the credit for that because I'm really the only person that fought for that. Or I wouldn't say fought, let's say advocated, because I'm trying to use less aggressive language, to not scare people off. So that business side of it was interesting. We also had our first production meeting, and I'm going to get back to the craft in just a minute, but we had our first production meeting, and knowing that we are still capable of producing a really great show, even though the studio series doesn't have all of the big guns, the big technical guns that our main stage series has, is very encouraging, because to me it speaks to the soul and the spirit of the team that I'm working with, that no matter what happens, no matter how much tech or how little tech we have, we're going to put together an amazing show. And so that's sort of the business, technical, producer side of things that I'm learning a lot about. How to advocate for your rights, how to advocate for your credit, how to advocate for the things that you need in the space, but then also learning how to work around that has been interesting. I'll talk about that, though, in just a minute, because I'll talk about that more in just a minute, because there was a piece of advice that I got from one of my fellow artists about working within institutions, and I want to talk to you guys about the situation, what was said to me, and my reaction to it, because I think it's important to really understand who you are as an artist and what you are willing to do and not do, and with whom. So we'll talk about that in just a minute because it's related. So I'm learning all those things on the business side, but then going back to the craft side, again, I'm really proud of what we're doing. We're basically taking public domain material with King Arthur's legends. We are doing the research. We are adapting the material. We are writing scripts. We are creating moments. Okay, we actually just finished putting together our production packets as well as some, quote, theoretical materials, around each of our pieces. Theoretical materials meaning materials that actors can read to really help them get into the role and get into the mindset of what the production is going to be about. We did all of that before spring break. And now that after spring break is over, it's not over yet, but it will be as of next Monday, we will be walking into rehearsal with about 60 to 80 pages of devising material that is really interesting, really fascinating, and will be a really lovely, fertile ground for creating devised work. A part of that development process for me as a hardcore Aristotelian writer is that I have so in Maureen's storyline, there are essentially 8 scenes / 8 parts to his story. And what I'm doing is I'm trying my best to adapt those 8 parts into a fully fledged script that reads pretty linearly from beginning to end. And then I'm writing a script. I've already written about 25% of it, so I'm super excited about that. And but I'm also building in spaces to make moments and to make devised work within the script itself. So for me, the script doesn't have to be a hardcore, you have to do this scene in this way and say the lines in exactly this order. It's just more of a blueprint and a foundation for us to use, at least when I'm devising my part of the show. And I hope that, that process is honored in the room. Because the thing is, with devising work as a director, because there's not a steady script from the outset, because there's only a production book with material, thoughts, and ideas, it can be hard to put together a show that makes sense, right? Or at least a show that makes meaning for the audience. If you're going for a total post-dramatic piece, you don't really have to worry about making sense for the audience. It's really incumbent upon the audience to make sense of the show itself. But for our show in particular, we do want to have some unifying principles, and we do want to get some messages across. And so for me, the main message that I am trying to put out there is not really anything else except here is how this Black Knight has been erased and ignored and marginalized, and here is his story. He is noble, he is strong, he is brave, he is one of the greatest warriors ever known to King Arthur's Round Table, and his story is about noble love, it's about family, and it's about the reunification of a kingdom. And so because I have my own unifying principles behind Sir Maurian's story, and I have an entire storyline to work with, it's easy for me to be able to tell the story of Maurian from beginning to end, especially because nobody knows about Sir Maurian's story. And this particular process of adapting this story to the stage has been so impactful for me that I'm actually going to be adding Sir Maurian's story as a potential film production product for Rebel Ragdoll Productions, which, as you guys know, is my production house. And I would love to, if I had the opportunity, to actually do an entire film adaptation, literally called Maurian, dealing with Sir Maurian, the Black Knight of the Round Table, and his entire storyline. And so I'm not trying to get too ahead of myself. It's just an idea that I'm putting on my project slate for Rebel Ragdoll Productions for way off in the future, obviously. But my theater adaptation of this story will certainly be a stepping stone to what will be ultimately the film adaptation of that story. So I'm really excited about the work that I'm doing on this project. I'm excited about getting into the rehearsal room with my daughter. She will be there with me, helping out, moving props, and just being a part of the process, and helping to, get the actors into the storyline, cast the parts, develop the actor performances, but then also divine and devise some really amazing moment work around Sir Morian's story. And what I hope for Sir Morian's story is that we're able to tell it from beginning to end throughout the entire show. It might not happen that way because our supervisor, the big honcho of the production, basically is going to have to make some narrative cuts and some moment cuts in order to make the show make sense, in order for it to cohere around a particular, topic or thrust, and in order for it to stay within the 80-minute structure that we have. So technically, between the 4 dramaturgs, myself included, we only have about 20 minutes of story that each of us get to tell. And I will be taking my entire 20 minutes. So, so I'm trying to keep the script to about 20 pages as a whole, because as you guys know, usually 1 page of script equals 1 minute of film or theater time, right? So I'm trying to condense Morian's storyline down into a storyline that can be told in about 20 minutes, but also that focuses specifically on Morian. If you read the original adapted material, if you read the original material, a good chunk of Morian's storyline also deals with a side quest with Gawain in it and a side quest with Lancelot in it, which are interesting and are really great quests, and I love it, but don't really have anything to do with Morian at all. So those will be getting cut or cut down significantly, only to the parts where Morian is concerned, and so on and so forth. So that's what I'll be working on over the spring break, in addition to all the other writing projects I have on my plate, which I will get into in just a second. So that is what has been happening for directing and dramaturgy. And just to cap that entire little section off, just FYI, guys, we don't have much to us, with us, or for us for the studio series, because it's now based on process rather than product. But we have found such amazing allies in the props department and the costuming department, and the show is just going to be lit. I mean, if it was going to be lit with us working on a guerrilla theater levels, where we're just snatching things and making stuff from scratch, then I know it's gonna work in a really amazing way now that we have actual costumes and actual props. So thank goodness, and thank you guys. If anybody from the costume or the prop shop is listening to this, I highly doubt that you are, but if you are, you guys are a godsend. Our show is gonna be lit as hell, and I'm excited. I was ready to make this show lit even without the props and costumes, but now that we have some actual props and costumes, it's going to be even better, and I'm just super excited to come back and work on that. We did a 3-hour shopping tour of the costume shop and the prop shop, and I also sort of decided that I wanted to be a costumer, but I think it's too late in life. But in any case, I'm excited about all of that. Okay, so I do want to get into the moral lesson of the day. You know how I give you guys my updates and then talk to you guys about a issue in my creative life or an artist issue that you guys might deal with. But we're going to get into that in just a second, because I have some more stuff to update you guys on. Other stuff that I did included New Adult Noir. I put up the February book promo for February. It was pretty successful. Again, I have pretty much slowed down in its entirety New Adult Noir to fit my needs from my brand, while also helping other authors to get their works out there. So I'm liking the balance that I'm striking right now during the semester, but I do feel the need to pick up the pace and actually organize more giveaways and just do the stuff that I was doing last year, just again on a slower, more intentional basis. So I'm looking forward to picking that back up in late May, early June. So stay tuned for a really kick-ass giveaway. It is coming. And what else did I do? World building. So I did some more plotting for the Ezekiel TV series. Basically like the season 0, quote unquote, which in my dream world, if I were to ever produce the books of Ezekiel into a TV series, it would start at The Given, which is the first novel in the book. And then season 2 would be Hollow Point, which is novel number 3. But then we would get glimpses of like basically everything that happened prior to the beginning of this entire series throughout season 2 as well. Kind of like how Scandal did it. They used season 1 to give us a really interesting origin story, or like a here we are right now story for Olivia Pope and Associates. And it really got us into the storyline, and it was just amazing and incredible, and we loved these characters. And then in season 2, we got the real tea as to how Olivia Pope became Olivia Pope, and how she rigged the election and all this crazy stuff, and all this stuff. Same thing for a Books of Ezekiel series. But the main reason why I was plotting for the TV series is because as I'm writing Hollow Point, I'm finding that a lot of story that I'm writing in Hollow Point has a backstory. So essentially by writing the backstory for the TV series, I'm also writing the backstory for the Books of Ezekiel series, the novel series as a whole, which helps me to write the current book that I'm working on, which is Hollow Point, book number 3. So you guys know that creativity in writing is pretty much an iterative process. And so this is just a part of it. As I'm writing the current novels, the backstory is coming to me, and I'm just basically spinning out this backstory and then repurposing it into the TV series. Why not, right? I mean, it's all going to be the same thing. I also worked on Michael Burke's storyline for Hollow Point. I also did just some more plotting and world building for Hollow Point and The Haunt, which are, again, books 3 and 4 in the Books of Ezekiel series. Come on, Colby, get it together. And I also did some plotting and writing for this new book that I'm working on. That's an actual author collaboration called 2054, like the year 2054. And I don't think I've introduced this to you guys yet. So here you go. Major project announcement. I am working on a 4-author novel collaboration with myself and 3 other authors, obviously. 3 plus 1 equals 4. Duh. And it is set in a futuristic sci-fi world that is, that deals with like a lot of science innovations, a lot of sci-fi. For me in particular, my corner of the sci-fi world deals with robots and AI, and particularly the sex doll market, which, believe it or not, guys, this is on and popping today. And it's only a matter of time before they really start combining the sex doll as the body with AI as the mind and evolving artificial intelligence. I would not be surprised if in 100 years we literally have super developed AI in the body of sex dolls. And so it deals with the changing roles of women as these sex dolls become more and more cognizant and more customizable. So that's a little teaser. I'm not going to tell you what my part of the story is, but just to introduce you to 2054, basically each of us as an author, we are writing stories between 15,000 to 20,000 words, each dealing with a specific character, and we will be following that character on a journey from beginning to end, based on wherever they are located in the world and whatever their conflict is. And you guys know me, I love action, I love thriller, I love adventure, I love just everything that is exciting, that to me makes novels super exciting. And so it's going to be really awesome. I'm thinking it's going to be like a cyberpunkish cozy mystery with guns. I mean, I'm just like throwing it out there. I'm still working on it. It's actually due March 16th. Like, that's the deadline that we each have to have our stories done by. And so I'm trying to get it done this week during spring break. And I think I have about 1,000 words out of my 15,000 so far. But I'll be working on that for the next few days, and then switching my gears back to Hollow Point and back to The Haunt for the Books of Ezekiel series. But the great thing about this is that by the end of the month, literally this month, I will have another book coming out. And even though it's not solely my book, it's still my book in conjunction with 3 other people. So, surprise, you guys are getting something. Finally, another book release from Colby R. Rice, but set in a sci-fi context. And I think that you guys really will enjoy that. So stay tuned on that. The book is called 2054, and there is a potential for an ongoing series. So just stay tuned. One other little Easter egg here, and you guys should start tracking this if you start reading the book when it comes out. There will be some major hints and major prequel Easter eggs dropped in my storyline in 2054, dealing with another series that I will be writing in the future called Ryden's Lot. So check that out and just pay attention to certain things that are happening in that storyline, because they will become integral in Ryden's Lot, which is basically set in a similar world, but probably 100 to 200 years in the future. So yeah, just keep that in mind. That's really exciting, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. As a whole, in addition to world building, I wrote, let's see, this is 364, 560 plus 2,500. So I wrote actually about 3,100 words this past week, which was great, or these past 2 weeks, which was great. It's a massive improvement on what I've been working on and what I've been doing, again, because grad school has been killing me. But I'm finally getting back into the groove, especially this week now. I'm able to knock out at least 1,000 a day at the very least. Of course, I'm going to have to knock out more because this 2054 project is due. But yes, I am still writing. And on top of it, I've also been training with my dragon, literally not my actual fire breathing dragon, but my naturally speaking dragon software, which is helping me to dictate my novel, which is amazing. And I haven't gone full on dictation yet, but it has really helped me with novel writing, and it also has really helped me with my essay writing for graduate school, which is a godsend. Honestly, it has been so helpful using Dragon, because sometimes I'm just too tired to write, and me speaking some words, if it doesn't help me write the whole thing, it helps me to get a really great head start with some brain vomit. That's what I call it, and which I can then shape into something that makes sense. What else did I do? There's a lot that happened this past 2 weeks. I also, speaking of things that are coming out, the paperback versions of The Given and The Taken, books 1 and 2 in the Books of Ezekiel series, are finally in press. The Taken is actually already available on Amazon.com. Check it out. I'm going to put the link below. The Given is still under review, and I think the reason is because a few years ago, someone literally tried to take my manuscript. Actually, they did take my manuscript offline, repackaged it, and started selling it on their own Amazon web space. They basically stole my book and was selling it under a different name. And so I had to report it to Amazon. I had to send the person a cease and desist letter and all this crazy stuff, which was really annoying and took a lot of time. And now Amazon has flagged my novel for being one that has been plagiarized in the past. So as a result, everything that I want to do with The Given, because it was stolen originally, takes twice as long, because Amazon wants to double check that the novel doesn't get stolen again. So the Given is still under review, and I've actually tapped Amazon on the shoulder and I'm just saying come on guys, get it all the way together. I need to get this paperback out. So it is coming out. And it's on its way. The Taken is already available, and I will let you guys know when The Given is also available in paperback. But finally, after however many years of the first novel being out, the ebook, the paperbacks, and the audiobooks, all 3 of those versions are out for The Given and The Taken, and I am super excited. Ghost of Koa, the audiobook, and the ebook and the paperback have been out the entire time. And as you guys know, Ghost of Koa is just The Given and The Taken together. But FYI, and as a heads up, I will be rebranding the Ghost of Koa, that entire omnibus sort of series, in the latter part of this year. So stay tuned to that. some things have changed in the way in which I've organized the Books of Ezekiel series. And so the Ghost of Koa Omnibus, which contains the given and the taken, will be rebranded and renamed appropriately so that the series is just easier to follow and the titles of the omnibi actually make sense. Anyway, that's a whole different conversation that I will save for when it actually happens. Moving on. The Bohemian Badass. I have been working super hard at work actually on the Bohemian Badass, because I mentioned to you guys before that this year, at least for the first quarter and probably now for the second quarter as well, the Bohemian Badass as the educational and creative training arm of a ragdoll is under reconstruction and is under a rebrand. And I mean an active rebrand. I don't mean that I'm just sitting here doing nothing. I actually just made an investment in Byregina.com's Publish Your Thing course. It's a 13 module course about how to basically build your infopreneur, blogging, nonfiction, coaching business from the bottom up. And I am using that entire course to basically reboot and rebrand and rebuild the Bohemian Badass from the bottom up. So for the Bohemian Badass, I basically have started the process of redesigning all of my blog post graphic templates, my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube graphic templates. I've actually created 2 sets of templates so that you guys know, like, by looking at one template, this is a blog post. By looking at another template, you guys know that this is going to be a course or a mini tutorial or a step-by-step video series, etc. And I am also in the process of rebranding the entire website. I also spent a lot of time researching my audience, researching my niche, doing some SEO work, rewriting my mission statement and my brand statement. And now actually in the coming weeks, I'll be working on my about page, copyright page, using a whole new template from elegantthemes.com to rebuild my entire website so that it's gorgeous and customizable and navigable and has different learning tracks. And so it's literally actively under construction because I'm following this entire course by Byregina.com in order to rebrand my entire Bohemian Badass brand. And yeah, I'm super excited about that, which I guess gets me into the creative uni that I've been doing these past 2 weeks. Because you guys know I've been super busy, I haven't been able to get too much creative uni done, but I have been able to get focused. And so a part of that focus is that I've been, again, sitting the Publish Your Thing course, focusing on 1 or 2 aspects of the course at a time that deal specifically with graphic designing the Bohemian Badass and with making my site badass the way that it needs to be. I also, as usual, kicked in to the Happy Black Women podcast with my girl Rosetta Thurman. She doesn't know she's my girl, but shout out to Rosetta because she is very, very influential and just very positive and really knows what she's talking about when it comes to women and especially women of color, Black women, building their independent location, independent lifestyle businesses from the ground up. So she is sort of like my business inspiration and unofficial business coach who is trying to help me build the business and keep the mindset that I need to keep in order to have a lifestyle-based business. And then the courses that I'm taking, either through byregina.com or any of the other courses I'm taking to build up my skills, are teaching me the skills that I need to have in order to maintain the business on every level, on the craft level, marketing, selling, blogging level, and on a networking level. So I'm just getting leveled up, in my opinion, in multiple ways this year in 2018, and I'm super excited. So a lot of things are going on, but the biggest thing that I really am taking away from this month and this quarter in particular deals specifically with maintaining a focus. So you guys might think that I don't have much focus because I bounce from thing to thing to thing. This year, to be honest with you, I really have been honing in on one project at a time and trying to be more patient with myself and just be more goal oriented in terms of taking one goal and seeing it all the way through to the end. And that's especially true with graduate school. That's especially true with being a mom. That's especially true with my work on Hollow Point. I have really been, at least in the past month, focusing specifically on writing Hollow Point. And as you guys know, I am developing other properties, but the development for those properties are basically only take up one aspect of the writing process. So I'm doing world building for the Asylum series, and I'm doing research for the Hitman of Happily Ever After series. So I'm really trying my best, even though I'm working on several projects, I'm trying to maintain a particular focus on each project. And for this particular week, my focus is going to be my 2054 story. And then when that is finished in its entirety, at least the first draft, I will go back to writing Hollow Point. So I'm becoming more intentional and just more active in choosing which goals to focus on at a particular time. And it really has been working out in such a much better way. I feel less overwhelmed. Of course, I would love to have fewer projects on my plate, but I do feel less overwhelmed overall. And I feel more comfortable and less guilty about temporarily walking away from something that I can't put most of my focus in. So this spring break, I'm going to be able to focus on my 2054 story and on my Hollow Point novel. But when I get back to graduate school, I'm going to have to, again, kick back to one particular focus because graduate school is going to take up 90% of my focus and time. So anyway, that's just like sort of taking you along on my crazy little journey of just like improving my level of focus and intentionality. Okay, anything else? Do I have to talk about anything else before I get into like the story of the day or the story of the week? Story of the day, story of the week, story of the day, story of the week. No, let's get into it, y'all. Okay, spring break is here, but the break that I'm supposed to be getting from my colleagues and fellow artists is not here, y'all. Okay, so the other day, and I will try my best to be as vague about this person as possible because I don't want to come off as insulting. I don't want to come off as, just being a hater. But this individual said something to me that resonated for like 30 seconds, for the first 30 seconds of it. And then for like the last minute of what this person was saying, I was just like not feeling it at all. And I just like shut down. I was just like, whatever. So we were discussing the importance of being able to work with what we have with regard to the current production that my colleagues and I are working on. And I made the comment that no matter what we were able to get from our support team, and it didn't matter who on the team, but let's say we couldn't get the proper, lighting support or the proper prop support, whatever the case is, whatever we couldn't get, I was willing to step up to the plate and invest time and energy and, if necessary, money in order to making our production what it needed to be. And a particular individual in the room basically said, I just want to caution you against that, Colby. They didn't call me Colby. They called me by my real name. But they said, I just want to caution you against that because you should never use your own money to fund your art. And at first I was just like, true, okay, all right. This is a real hustler, a real pimp about to share some deep, important knowledge with me about how to use other people's money, right? Or how to get grants or fellowships or residencies to like support my art, right? So I'm like, okay, all right, I see you, boo, babe. I'm like nodding my head and not in a sarcastic way because I'm really feeling it. I'm just like, okay, if you could guide me towards, using other people's free money to like develop my stuff, by all means, boo. Like I am all ears on my face, on my nose, on my chin, on my back. Just everywhere, ears everywhere. I am all ears. My whole face is ears. I'm listening and waiting for that secret sauce, right? In order to like get other people's money to fund my projects. And y'all, excuse me, the advice never came. You would think that after somebody says to you, don't ever use your own money, use other people's money, you would be thinking, okay, you're gonna tell me how to use other people's money, right? Like you're gonna give me like the tea. What's the tea? No, this person instead says, you really have to learn how to work with institutions and inside of institutions. Now, if you guys know me, and if for those of you who are looking at the vlog, you see my little shade face on right now. To those of you who know me, you know that that's like completely the wrong thing to say to me, because I'm not really an institutional kind of chick. I have never been an institutional kind of chick. It's just not in me, which is why I established Rebel Ragdoll LLC, and that's why I call it Rebel Ragdoll LLC. And I'm thinking to myself, this individual either doesn't know me that well, wants to change me, which is my suspicion, or just hasn't been paying attention. Because every single time I've presented who I am and what I do and what I want out of life, I never have ever mentioned that I want to work for and within an institution on my art. That's just never been anything that has ever come out of my mouth, because that's just not who I am. And you can see my eyebrows knit together in just like deep disturbance just at the thought. Ugh, I'm just shuddering. Now, this is not me being condescending to anyone who does thrive within institutions. More power to you. If I actually could thrive in an institution like academia, for example, I would probably be more successful, and I would probably rub fewer people the wrong way. As you can tell from this podcast, I tend to make people kind of mad because I sort of do my own thing. I have my own ideas, and I am pretty self-driven. If something doesn't get done, I'm just going to do it. If somebody tells me something cannot be done, I'm not going to listen, because it doesn't make any sense. Unless you're telling me, Colby, you can't literally flap your wings and fly, which is true, I can't do that, I'm going to give it a shot. Like, whatever it is that I think I can do, I'm going to give it a shot, unless I know for a fact that I can't do it. And even then, in that case, like, I would still try to build some wings out of like birds' feathers and cardboard and just see if I could very well fly or not. That's just who I am. And it's not to be defiant towards people. It's not to prove to anybody that I can do it. It's just because the word can't is generally not in my vocabulary. And unfortunately, when I'm inside an institution, the word can't and no are constantly flying around, because people just throw them around in order to like keep from having to do extra stuff or keep from being stressed out or whatever it is that they have going on. But when this person told me that I had to work within the institution, I thought a couple of things. One, this individual, I believe, mostly means well, but this individual and I have certainly, I wouldn't say locked horns, but certainly have had our disagreements with how things should work and how they should run, especially when it came to my Shakespearean film adaptation that I told you guys about like, a couple months ago that I put on my project slate. I don't know what's going on with this individual, because it seems as though this person went from being a free artist to being an artist trapped within institutions. And I guess maybe because he feels as though like this has been his life, that this is how all artists are or something. I don't know. I'm not trying to like even be insulting or extrapolate or project. I don't, I'm not an expert on this individual's life, but like this person has clearly taken a particular path to make their art. And there's nothing wrong with that path, but that path is not my path. And to tell me that I have to work within institutions wasn't really a bit of advice. It was more so, this is what I generally think about you, that you need to kowtow a little bit more. And I'm just taking yet another opportunity to explain to you how you need to kowtow to these larger institutions. And I just wasn't having it. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a free artist. I'm a free agent. I don't do institutions. And anyone who is entrepreneurial, who is looking to build something for themselves, is going to have the same perspective. Unless you are extremely skilled at navigating an institution to get what you need to get out of it, money included, and then you're going to pimp the institution to build up your own thing, like, that is great if you can do that. I'm trying to do that right now with my education, not with money, because I don't really know any outlets in our current department for us to like get money through this institution, but I certainly can get quite a bit of education from this institution that I can then apply to my entrepreneurial and artistic endeavors. And that is what I'm doing to, quote, work within the institution. And I think sometimes this individual and just people in general don't listen to what I'm saying. They more so, and they don't react to what I'm saying. They react to who I am. And who I am, again, is a free spirit. And I don't even know if I want to encourage you guys to not work within institutions. You have to decide for yourself what's best for you. But I know me, and I know that working within academia as an institution specifically does not work for me. It does not jive with me and with who I am. It doesn't, it's just not who I am. Like, I'm trying to build a fempire from the bottom up, and to say that I need to kowtow to an institution and that I should then furthermore not use my own money or not use non-institutional money to invest in my company and my projects and my process is crazy to me. At least it sounds crazy without any sort of other recourse. Like, are you going to tell me, for example, like what fellowships to apply for? Because then I'm listening, I'm totally all ears. But if you're just saying that I have to kowtow to academic institutions and academia because that's just what I need to do, that doesn't make any sense. No, you kowtow to academia. I'm going to build my company, and that's just how it's going to be. So anyway, this is sort of like a rant, but it is kind of a rant. But just in conclusion, guys, institutions don't jive with me, especially academia, because institutions are rarely built with people like me in mind. People like me being independent, free thinking, out of the box, highly educated, highly motivated Black women or women of color or people of color. Institutions are generally not, especially academia, especially the ivory tower, they are not built with the needs and with the agendas of people of color in mind. Now that's fine, because if we want to have our own institutions that cater to us, we should build our own institutions, right? But that's what I'm doing through Rebel Ragdoll. And I just don't feel comfortable handing over all of my artistic power to an institution that doesn't have or doesn't take me or keep me in mind. Like, as an artist, as a person of color, as a woman, you know what I'm saying? It's called the Ivory Tower for a reason. It's not called the Obsidian Tower. It's not called, the Yellow Tower or the Red Tower. It's called the Ivory Tower for a very particular, specific reason. And I'm sure you guys can extrapolate as to why. And so I just feel as though real artists and entrepreneurs are going to find ways to fund their projects, whether it's with their money or with other people's money, but in a way that allows them the freedom to do what it is they need to do. And that's sort of what I want to leave you guys with. Don't be afraid to be entrepreneurial with your artistic endeavors. If you have to work within an institution, make sure you're making it work for you, and that you're not being told to kowtow and bow down to an institution just because someone doesn't like your free thinking ways and someone doesn't like how you feel so free to frolic and have fun and to do whatever you like, even though there are shackles trying to be placed on you. Because ultimately, coming down to the interactions that I've had with this individual, that's sort of the message that I was getting. And as you guys know, I wasn't really feeling it. So I'm going to keep doing me, investing in my business, investing in my art. And as I said many episodes ago, I don't need your fucking permission. Like, how many times do I have to tell people in this program and in this department and in this institution that Kobe R. Rice is not waiting for your permission or your help or your input on any of her projects. Like, how many times do I have to keep saying this until people just get it? You know, I'm just kind of, I wasn't even upset. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, here we go again. You know, I have to say this again. Do I have to give you the Rebel Ragdoll packet again? You know, just like, anyway, so I'm just going to keep doing me. I will keep an eye out for other people's money, but I am not going to bend my art and my vision to an institutional vision, especially a broke-ass institution that doesn't really have money to invest to begin with. That's just dumb. Anyway, on that kind of sarcastic note, I'm going to get out of here because this is becoming more of a ramble and less of a life lesson. But in short, be entrepreneurial, be independent, be artistic, hustle for your money, and don't let anybody tell you where you should or you should not be working, especially if it doesn't jive with your personal mission and your personal artistic process. So having said that, I'm going to go take a nap before I have to go to daycare and pick my child up. I will talk to you guys soon. Stay independent, stay indie, yes, stay badass, stay artistic, keep creating, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.